Hey Malik, so this was the first loss you had in over 700 days. Just for you, just how did you handle the first loss in a while?
Like you handle anything in life, you put a smile on your face and keep moving. Being upset about it's not going to get it back. We go back, watch the tape, get it corrected, and move on to the next opponent.
Watching the tape, what did you see that Washington was doing there in the second half that kind of stifled your offense a little bit?
Yeah, they just came out differently than in the first half. They made some of their halftime adjustments and things that we had to adjust to as offense, and we didn't do very well executing.
Malik, Nebraska leads the Big Ten in pass defense, not just in yardage allowed, fewest yards allowed, but in passing defense efficiency. From what you've seen, what kind of things do they do to make life difficult for guys like you?
I think it's their front. Their front gets after the quarterback a decent amount, and I think that makes it harder for teams to pass on them. So, as long as we hold up in protection, our receivers will get downfield and make plays.
And then after last Saturday, how have you guys inside that locker room lifted each other up over the last couple of days? Because, it's not an easy, thing for anybody from guy number 1 to guy number 125 on this roster.
Yeah, we just stuck together. We really emphasize and preach sticking together in times of need and, relying on your brothers to help pick you up. People who may have had a bad game or had a great game, we all looking at one another, trying to find ways to keep improving.
Hey, Malik, I wanted to ask you a little about Zahir Mathis' recruitment. Loxley just said, you were huge in it. I know Zahir's high school coach said you were a big factor. Just how did you help recruit him? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, so me and Zah played youth ball together, actually, for Maryland Heat. And then, we played against each other twice in high school. I think it was sophomore and junior year. And then senior year, we were down at the UA All-American game. We were sitting on the bus, traveling, and I know him already, so we're, having conversations. He had just recently decommitted. So then we were just talking about, has he ever thought about Maryland? He was like, I wouldn't be opposed to it. So then I got him on the phone with some coaches, and we started talking from there, and now he's here making plays.
What were some of the things you told him about why Maryland?
Just the family environment, really. Zah's really big on family, just like I am, and, a place that feels like home with people that can relate to you and understand where you come from.
Hey Malik, obviously deal with Litos and Pepsi is now last week's news. This past week got announced as Iron Rooster's brand ambassador. First off, congratulations for that, but can you speak to sort of how your experience working with Maryland's NIL collective has been and the value that guys like that will bring to the program?
Yeah, it's been amazing. They've done a great job, helping me out and facilitating things and getting me with these local brands that, I've been eating at Litos as long as I can remember. Me and my mom used to go all the time. Same thing. My great grandma loves Pepsi. She drinks it all the time. So brands that have had an impact in my life that I'm able to work with now. It came about, really. Right now I'm just focused on the season and trying to win games. So when things like that come about, we take them at face value and see, what we can do with it with the time that I have free, and we go from there.
All right, hi Malik, how you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. So I want to talk about the goodness. Always goodness on tape. You guys had an amazing 16-play drive. What parts of that drive are you most proud of, and then what do you use out of that 16-play to move on, to take to the next week?
I think really just our resiliency. Long drives like that, guys can get pretty winded, and that's a lot of plays, a lot on the guys up front, having to move bodies so much. But it just shows that as a team, when we all work together as a unit, we can do anything we put our mind to.
Malik, you ended your press conference on Saturday citing Jeremiah 29:11 and sort of saying what you said. Why did you feel compelled to say that?
It was just on my mind, really. That's my life verse, and in times of need, that's kind of what I just repeat to myself in my head, so I thought I would be able to share it, and it might help somebody else out.
No, but you also talked about how, that you guys had to stick together. Was that part of your way of saying, expressing to publicly that, hey, we can't lose confidence at this point?
I think that's something we talked about as a team, too, in the locker room after the game, was just not losing confidence in ourselves. And no matter what, the outside and external sources are saying, we know what we have in the locker room is. It's all about the people who put on those jerseys on Saturday.
Malik, Coach Loxley mentioned that, this week the point of emphasis is going to be finishing and especially winning the fourth quarter. Just kind of take us to the practice field, right? What will that look like throughout the practice week? Yeah, in every single drill, getting what we call a two-line burst. So after a catch, running 10 yards or full speed, everything you have, just emphasizing that finish, at the end of practice. When guys are tired, it's been however many periods. We have some team periods at the end of practice, going hard and finishing those drills strong. And what was your biggest takeaway from Saturday's loss? Yeah, we just have to finish. Really, I think we just left it out there, trying to coast along to the finish instead of pushing through and headbutting the finish like we talk about.
Hey, Malik, you obviously are a great runner. You have the ability to make plays with your legs. It has looked, though, from the outside looking in, that you have seemed a little hesitant to take off on some of the off-schedule scrambles. Would you say that's true? And then is there any emphasis to use your legs more, as create another element to the offense?
Yeah, I think it's something that I have to work on, especially just that, like you said, it can add another element to the offense. It's something that I've noticed a little bit, and I think I'm going to try to improve it this week, just being able to create another element for teams that have to defend.
Bring those last two questions together. Has there been any more emphasis in the run game, specifically maybe to yesterday's practice, about trying to, you mentioned that Nebraska front, like walk us through yesterday's practice about how you guys are getting right to Nebraska?
Yeah, so yesterday's practice is more of a correction walk from this past weekend. It's not so much as physical, like really heavy drills or anything like that. It's more of a mental day, install and stuff like that, just because we're trying to give guys bodies time to recover from what just happened 2 days ago. So really, yeah, we just, worked on our run game install and, making sure our blocks are correct and we're getting to the right landmarks, things like that. Good. Thank you.
Isaiah, there's sort of a balance between, okay, let's learn from this past Saturday without dwelling on it. As a player, and this isn't the first time that you guys have suffered setbacks, how do you handle something that happened last Saturday moving forward?
Well, it was extremely disappointing, not playing to our standard, but I think it's with the perspective that you have, you could walk out of it with a lot of lessons. And Coach Locks talks a lot about friction and how we witnessed some adversity and some friction last Saturday. But when you're working on the sword, that friction kind of refines it and perfects it. So with the approach this week, we're just gonna use every lesson that we could gain from the last game and just try and become a better team.
Coach also mentioned their pass rush. Nebraska leads the Big Ten in fewest yards allowed against the pass. What kind of things do they do to make things difficult for offenses like yourselves?
I think, just a real athletic team. You know what I'm saying? Just they have a great team. You could tell that their program and they have a lot of disciplined guys. So I think we just got to stick to our game plan and stick to our standard and the way we approach practice every day. And I think we're gonna be fine.
How you doing? So you guys had a huge 16-play drive in that game. How is it having a big drive, long drive like that in such a full house? I know sometimes it can get a little louder because everyone's excited about the passes. But how do you guys prepare for that? And then even though you guys didn't come in with the win, how do you take that tape from that 16-play drive and make it even better?
Mm-hmm. I think it starts with practice. So the way we practice is we get a lot of reps during practice, and so I think it carries over to the game. And Coach wants it to be harder during practice than in the game, and I think it showed up last Saturday. That 16-play drive, it's a long drive, of course, but when you're on the field, you don't really notice the crowd or the outside noise. You're really just playing with your brothers and your teammates and just trying to make sure that the next play is the best play. So yeah.
Isaiah, a little bit of a delayed gratification with the transfer, obviously having gotten injured last year. What has it meant to you to be able to step out in the crowd this season, be able to represent a packed house like there was last week for this team?
It's an incredible blessing, just to, get the opportunity to play the sport in the first place, and the opportunity to play at such a great university in Maryland. It's a huge blessing, and I don't take it for granted. And every day I get to go out in the stadium, I kind of, I touch the turtle before I go out there, and it's a real emotional moment for me before the game. So it's awesome.
What do you think the biggest challenge has been as a lineman in this conference, and how have you sort of relished getting to take it on?
I think the biggest challenge as an offensive lineman in this conference, just trying to progress and become the best I can be, you know what I'm saying, and just reaching the perfect player, which is impossible. But I think as the season goes on and, working with your coaches and your teammates, all those things that you want out of yourself and as a group ends up happening, as the season goes on. So, yep.
Hey, Isaiah, I wanted to ask you about Malik Washington. Through 5 games, freshman, how would you kind of assess his play, and what has he meant to you guys?
Yeah, Malik, I mean, you watch the games, you know what I'm saying? Since the day he came up, and stepped in the doors at Maryland. He's kind of just always been a professional, a grown adult. You know what I'm saying? And just has so much passion when he plays and when he's working out and when he's in the meeting rooms. You know, it's obviously a huge transition coming from high school to being in the offense like the offense that we have here. And he took it by storm, and he's doing a great job, and I'm really proud of him.
What's impressed you most about kind of his progression on the field?
I would say his poise. You know, he doesn't seem like a nervous guy at all. He shows up, and you know he's comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And he approaches the game like it is, you know, a game. You know what I'm saying? Just like playing football. You know, with like your childhood friends. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just his poise and his way to control himself on and off the field is really impressive.
Isaiah, 2 sacks allowed this season by you guys. I know that there are bigger and there are things that you guys are shooting for this season, but how much of a point of pride is that to know that only twice as your quarterback landed on his back this fall?
Yeah, I think it's an accomplishment for sure. But we see the stat, we look at it, we acknowledge it, and then we move on. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously we're trying to be the best team that we can, and the goals that we have set for ourselves and for the future are obviously tall goals. So, you know, it's a great accomplishment so far, but we have a lot of football left, and we're going to approach every day like it's the first day, you know what I'm saying? So just not dwelling too much on that stat, being thankful for it, but at the end of the day, it is our job, you know what I'm saying? So we're just going to keep approaching every day, and yeah.
Good, how you doing?
I'm well. So what did you learn about yourself and your team this week?
Yeah, I think we just need to learn how to finish. I think that was the big takeaway from that game last week, and how we handle adversity in times like that. Yeah, I think what I've seen, though, we're staying together, and we're all focused on, fixing the things we need to fix moving forward.
Yeah, Coach was just talking to us about focusing on the fourth quarter. Kind of what does that mean to you, and how do you kind of take that in practice and apply it on the Saturday?
Yeah, ever since I stepped foot here at Maryland, in workouts and things we did over the summer, practice, we put a huge emphasis on headbutting the finish. Whether that's a workout, a run, whatever we're doing, we got to headbutt the finish. So that's what we're really focusing on moving forward. And talking about the fourth quarter, that's when we really need to finish the best.
Cam, you guys lead the Big Ten with 19 sacks so far this season. As a unit, what's been the recipe for the seeds of success for you guys this fall?
Yeah, I mean, you got those young guys on the edge, Sidney Stewart, Zaire Mathis, and then you got us in the interior. I think we complement each other very well. We always try and push each other to be better, and it's really just a race to get in the backfield.
For those who grew up watching college football, this is not our parents' Nebraska team where the dudes just ate corn and ran the ball 50 times. What have you seen on tape from this Cornhusker team?
Yeah, they got a lot of pride in their quarterback. The offense kind of runs through him. So we need to, like you said, pass rush is going to be really important, affecting him, get him off his game, and stopping the run whenever they run the ball.
Cam, what's the level of concern to make sure that a loss on Saturday doesn't spiral into anything worse?
Yeah, like I said, since Saturday, we've been in the building. We've watched the tape. We've been working out. We had practice yesterday. Everybody's coming together. Everybody's locked in. Everybody's focused. And, yeah, it hurt. A lot of people are unhappy about it. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Can you afford to look back on that and think that was kind of a missed opportunity for us?
Yeah, but we're not going to dwell on it. We're moving on. We're looking at Nebraska now and ready to move forward.
Hey, Cam, just how much did losing Sidney at the end of the first half kind of hurt the D-line going forward the rest of that game?
Yeah, losing anybody hurts, especially, we still had a whole half to play. Yeah, losing a guy like Sid, that's tough to replace. But just us as a defense, we got to step up and make up for that. You know what I mean? We can't hang our hats on that and, blame that situation for the loss. But, yeah.
And then Coach post game, he mentioned that he didn't think you guys maybe managed the success as well as you guys could have. How would you kind of define the way that you guys were measuring and managing your success early on in the season?
Yeah, we were all pretty high on being 4-0. There was a lot of buzz around here. We were all happy about it. But at the end of the day, you can lose any given Saturday. So we just got to stay focused on that and just always continue to keep getting better.
Hey, Cam. Coach Locks mentioned that Dante Joyner yesterday stood up in front of the team and kind of apologized for the big mistake on Saturday. I'm just wondering, can you take us into that kind of conversation? And also, just what is the importance of a player kind of owning up to a mistake like that?
Yeah, that's huge. And, Dante, I love that guy. He's a heck of a player. Step up in front of your team, that's never easy, owning up to a mistake that you might have made. But, yeah, us as a team, we don't look at him any differently because of what happened on Saturday. Still happy he's on our team. He's a heck of a player. But that means a lot coming from him, stepping up and saying that in front of the team.
Hey, Cam. I think it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but you guys limited one Goldman to just 3.2 yards per carry last week. This was a guy who was coming in as one of the most explosive backs in the country. What are some lessons that you took away from that performance from your line, and how are you planning to use that going forward in such a run-heavy league?
Yeah. Our coaches preach to us every week. It's about stopping the run. If you could control that aspect of the game, it leads to better things, in the past, and then our pass rushers can go hunt. So, yeah, we knew he was a good back coming in. We knew what they wanted to do with him. We just tried our best to contain him and stop that run game early so we could get after the passer.
Hey, Cam. You've played 3 schools, 3 conferences, 3 different levels of football. You're 2 games into playing. You've played 2 games in the Big Ten now. You've made big plays in both your first Big Ten games. As someone on that inside in a conference known for that physicality, what's different, and then how have you adapted and been able to produce?
Yeah, the difference, I'd say, probably the size and, the skill level maybe. But like you said, you adapt to any environment that you're in for long enough. So, getting here, practicing with these guys, going up against our offensive line really prepared me to play in this league. Coach Locks always talks about, iron sharpens iron. And, when you go against this offensive line every single day, you're prepared for playing in this league.
Hi, Cam. You mentioned talking about Nebraska's quarterback, Dylan Raiola. He's a little bit different than any of the other quarterbacks you faced thus far. Is there any sort of different philosophy you do when you face a quarterback that might be different than who you faced?
Not really. The quarterback last week, he was more of a runner, so we had that to worry about, keeping him in the pocket and containing the run aspect of things. But, the ingredients pretty much the same. Just play with high effort and get after the quarterback and affect his throws.
All right. It's kind of like a 2-parter, but I wanted to ask, they talked about Sydney being out in that second half, but he would still be able to, was there talking to you guys. How was that? And then also being in that crowd, that sold-out crowd, how did that feel as well?
Yeah, the environment was amazing. Yeah. It's awesome playing like that. I remember I was joking with Ian Thomas, the other defensive tackle we have. I was like, man, you could barely hear out there on 3rd down. It was loud. But, you love that. You love that environment. It makes it tough for the opponents. And, yeah, about Sid, whenever the second half came around, he was such a great leader on that sideline, encouraging guys. I know I came off the field a couple times, and he was telling me, yo, you did really good at this. Watch for this type of stuff. So, yeah, it's great having him on the team. I love playing with him.
Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.